What's up, everybody? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. For this Tuesday, October 20th, 2020, I am your host, Russ Williams. I'm so glad you could be here today. I'm quite aware you could have been anywhere in this world today. I know you could have been anywhere in this world today, but you decided to be here with me, and I appreciate that. And more importantly, I appreciate you. So welcome to Transition Tuesdays, ladies and gentlemen, on this kind of rather like 70-degree-ish day here. I'm in this fall day here in New York City, which was, you could wear a t-shirt around and about, which was a cool thing here today. So that was good. So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, we got an action-packed show here. I got an action-packed guest. And before we do all that, I always like to state my intentions before we start the show. And my intentions never waver. My intentions is to give you the opportunity to laugh, smile, think, and engage in honest conversations about your life's transition. So that's what we do here on Transition Tuesdays. And speaking of honest conversation, on the Transition Tuesdays hotline is my special guest. Special guest, are you there, my friend?
Special guest is here.
All right. Now, so let me bring on my special guest the right way. I'm going to read this extensive bio, so bear with me out there, ladies and gentlemen, because this guy has done some things, man. So, my special guest played 4 seasons at Manhattan College under current ESPN analyst Fran Fraschilla from 1992 to 96. During his career at Manhattan College, my guest helped the Jaspers reach the postseason 4 times, including 2 NCAA appearances in 93 and 95, and 2 NIT tournament appearances in 94 and 96. That's why I'm going to call this guy Postseason P. Okay, that's this guy's name. I'm dubbed him the new name, Postseason P. All right? So, next, he is a member. He won a MAC championship in 1993. Also, my special guest earned his Bachelor of Arts degree in Communications from Manhattan College in 1996 and spent several seasons playing abroad for various European clubs from the years 1996 to 2006. So 10 years. We're going to definitely talk about that. So after his playing career was done, he was an assistant coach at the men's junior college level, the women's assistant coach, a women's assistant coach, and a head coach at the Division III level, and a women's assistant at the Division I level. So we're going to talk about that, being a coach as well. And also, my guest, he has honored, let's see what else we got about here. Let me see, it's me. I can't even read my own writing here, special guest. This is terrible, man. All right. Now, what my current guest is doing now is he has completed his 6th season working at the NBA in the referee operations department as replay operations lead senior manager. So Transition Tuesdays, Transition Army, please help me welcome Mr. Justin Phoenix to Transition Tuesdays. JP, what's going on, my man?
Man, I can't call it. I'm here. I'm glad to be on the show. Man, this is a great day.
Oh, absolutely. I'm glad to have you on, JP. I've been trying to get you on this whole time, but every time I was trying to get you on, you were doing your job, your day job, and working. So, the
Lakers in Miami and all the other teams weren't really helping us out.
Absolutely. But we got you here today. This is cool. And speaking of having you today, we also got one of your former teammates. We got Chris B. Williams. Uncle Smoothies is here today. Let's see. We also got my man T. Doze on the check-in as well, man. What's going on, T. Doze? Also, we got my man John Alvarez joining us. What's going on, John? Welcome back, man, to Transition Tuesdays. I missed you, John. I haven't seen you in a while. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're back for this episode, this action-packed episode with my man JP here. So, JP, man, now I can't see you, but I like to make my guests feel at home. So, what I'm going to do for you, JP, is I'm going to play a song for you that you might like from an artist from you're from Jersey, right?
From Jersey, South Jersey, Camden area.
Okay, gotcha. I'm gonna play a song for you, man, to make you feel at home. Okay, a little Jersey's vibe, for one of Jersey's finest. I'm gonna play this for you, and tell me what you think. Hold on one second. Let me cue it up here, my DJing skills. See if they're up to par. Here we go. Can you hear that, sir?
I hear it, yeah.
All right. Do you know what artist that is, sir?
Let's see, it's so faint. Time for some action. Sound like little red man action?
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Oh, so you're from Camden. So you're from Camden in that area too, right?
Yeah, I grew up in South Jersey.
Okay.
Grew up in Camden.
Mm-hmm.
Then, as you get older, you move to the suburbs.
Mm-hmm.
So just moved closer to almost Atlantic City.
Mm.
So I was commuting to play ball in Camden, to play ball in Philly.
Mm-hmm.
I was more or less the adopted Philly kid.
There you go. There you go. You know, I should have played for you. I'm not sure. How far is Teaneck from you?
Teaneck is more North Jersey, so
Okay.
that's about an hour, some change.
Okay. Okay.
But, New Jersey is only so big, so, you can get anywhere in a matter of time.
That's true. That's true. Because I was wrestling with it. I was like, should I play some Redman for my man, JP? Or should I play some Naughty by Nature? I was like, he probably said it. But I was wrestling. I was going to play some Poor Righteous Teachers, Rock This Funky Joint. I wasn't sure, though. But I said it on Redman.
Well, it's all good because my roomie Sweets back in college, he had me hip to everything that I wasn't familiar with. So.
There you go. There we go.
There you go.
Absolutely. We got Tracy joining us. Tracy Farmer Myers joining. What's going on, Tracy? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. I think Tracy is a newbie here, so welcome. Welcome to the show. Appreciate having you. Cool, man. Oh, man. So, JP, man, I'm glad I had you on again. I finally get to have you on, man, because there's a lot to talk about with yourself. One of the unsung heroes of the Manhattan College program, man. Like I talked about, you that, postseason P. I'm a W that, man. You went to four postseason tournaments in your 4 years at Manhattan College. That is phenomenal, man. But we're gonna talk all about that tonight as my boy Lenny Pitt LP is joining us. ASA's finest joining us, AD, one of the best ADs in the country joining us today. What's going on, LP? So, I'll be remiss, Justin, if I didn't ask you, man, how are you and your family coping with these three pandemics that we got going on? We got COVID-19, we got the economy, and also we got the social injustice, as a black man in America. So how are you and your family coping now?
It's different times. Mm-hmm. So you've got to be real careful in a lot of the things that you do. Mm-hmm. With this COVID, it's something that no one can put their finger on. So, you got to wear your mask. You got to social distance.
Yeah.
When you're so used to hugging and being physical with people, now you're feeling weird because you're standoffish and you're waving and you're just not being normal.
Right.
But I guess it's called the new normal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And with the economy and everything else that's going on, mm-hmm. It's just time now to just really hopefully buckle down and then hopefully be able to get things right.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah, and getting ready for this new, they said it's going to be an uptick on it, on the COVID-19 coming up, especially in the Northeast. So we got to get ready for that. So how has it been for you in terms of, you as a black man here in America? I mean, it's been tough, man. I mean, like for me, I talk to people all the time. It's really exhausting, man, what's going on. But I just wanted to get your thoughts too. How are you feeling out there?
A lot of it, you grow up. You get to talk from your dad, your grandpops, your uncles, mm-hmm. Adopted coaches and mentors, and they just tell you, you gotta live straight.
Yeah.
If the times that if you do get pulled over, you gotta make sure you just mm-hmm. do everything you can to get home safe.
Definitely. Yeah.
And it's tough because mm-hmm. you see a lot of stuff and a lot of injustice. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of us have held a lot of things in because, it didn't seem like there was going to be a change.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But hopefully now, and I can't stress it more, but voting, I think now for anybody that hasn't voted, is key.
Yes.
Just to get the changes needed so, a lot of things aren't on the news every night.
Definitely. Yes. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Yep. Hey, so JP, man, a couple of questions for you. Well, I got a slew of questions for you, but I'll start up with this one. So,
here we go.
Yeah, there you go, right? So we'll buckle in and settle in, So, but JP, do you come from like a big family there in Jersey, or brothers and sisters, or?
I have one sister.
Okay.
The Phoenix and James. My mom is a James. The Phoenix James clan is pretty big. It's spread out all throughout America, from the East Coast all the way out to the West Coast, and Florida and the South.
Okay.
A lot of family members. We all try to pre-COVID see each other, but it's a little difficult now. So thank God to Zoom.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're sponsors to mention them, but thank God for all the ways now to FaceTime and really be able to see and connect with family.
Yeah.
But like I said, just one sister. She was harder on me than I think Coach Fran was, but we'll get on that later. I know.
Absolutely, yes. We'll get into Coach Fran later. No doubt about that.
She, big family. We're pretty close family. But hopefully, like anything, we'll be able to see each other once all this COVID stuff, calms down and then they find a cure.
Definitely, yes. My man Chris Smooth says, my rookie. I says, #class act. That's Justin Phoenix all day on that one. We also got George Servey joining us here, one of Johnston's finest joining us. He is joining us as well. Hey, so JP, when you were growing up in Jersey, was basketball your first love? Did you play any other sports? Because you're a very athletic guy. I mean, coming into this mix. So, but did you play any other sports, or was basketball like your first love?
Basketball was number one. I think from birth, I had a basketball in my hand.
Wow.
But growing up, you learn to love other sports as well. So, growing up our street, we played, from 9 in the morning to 10, it was baseball or stickball. Then we did soccer, then we did football, then we did basketball, then we did, tag. We did everything we possibly could to be active.
Right.
But basketball was number one. I played baseball up until high school.
Did you really? What position did you play, JP?
Honestly, I played every position except catcher.
Really?
And the only reason I didn't catch was because, being so tall, the shin guards didn't cover my whole leg.
Man, right.
So the first time I went to catch, you're playing in smaller gear, and a foul ball hit me on the top of the knee.
Ooh.
And I was like, yep, that's it. I just threw off the mask, threw the glove, and went back out into the field. But I pitched, I played first base. Quick fact, I wanted to play my last year at Manhattan. But I can't remember who the coach was at the time, but I think it was a conflict because I was on scholarship for basketball, and I might have been taking a scholarship position away for somebody from baseball. So it just never worked out. But I used to go to the games, and play softball. It was just, another pastime. But baseball was big in our family. Okay. Basketball, obviously, football, and going to Europe, you learn to appreciate their football or their soccer.
Yes.
So sports is in the life, and now I'm trying to be a golfer.
Oh, okay. I got clubs in my car too, so have clubs will travel, so I can meet you anywhere, Just.
And listen, all the fellow listeners and fellow Jaspers, I know Jamal keeps getting on me because he lives around the corner, and I never invite him to go play. But I know Kerry Wilson.
Yes.
Will. I know Uncle Will. He has to get together. Hopefully, all of us can get together and play.
That sounds good. We got my man Lewis Harris joining. What's going on, Lewis? What up, cuz? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. And also, JP, we have a Jen Basso Smith. She is joining us, and she says, Justin, in exclamation points. Justin, tuned in just to hear. Yep, she said, tune in just to hear your voice. Much love for you always. Jasper's for life.
Basso is my girl.
That is so cool. That's cool, man. Perfect. Hey, so JP, man, so you're playing basketball. You're coming up playing basketball. Always been a tall guy. Talk to me. So let's talk about, your playing days, younger playing days, but tell me about your high school playing days. What high school did you attend?
I went to Camden Catholic High School.
Okay.
It's just outside of Camden. They used to be in Camden, but there was a fire. They moved to Cherry Hill. And it's so funny because you were always saying like I was the tallest. I wasn't always the tallest.
Really?
You know,
Okay.
I grew up.
Uh-huh.
I was tall for my family, but I wasn't tall on the bigger scheme of things.
Uh-huh.
So I had to learn a lot of the guard stuff.
Mm.
And I shot up from maybe 6'1" to like 6'6", sort of like Anthony Davis, how they always talk about.
Right.
So
Yes.
I had all the guard skills, but now you're playing in a 6'6" body going into high school.
Uh-huh.
And now at that time, you know, you're 6'6", they automatically put you on the block. You know, that's what it was. You back to the basket, rebound, and score around the hoop.
Mm-hmm.
But I could score on the perimeter.
Right.
You know, I could create.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an advantage, you know. So my high school years, you know, I messed up my freshman year, and I think this is very important. You know, grades are the most important thing ever.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how important they were until I was on that ineligible list that they posted throughout the hallways of each hall, freshman hall, sophomore hall, senior hall, to say, you know, you can't play.
Oh, yes, yes.
And the embarrassment was just like, oh, wow, like, this is real now.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my wake-up moment. So my freshman year, I didn't play varsity.
Wow.
I had to sit out the first 6 weeks to get my grades back in order.
Uh-huh.
And then they started me off from the bottom. I had to start off from freshman.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you play freshman ball?
I played 9 games of freshman ball.
Okay.
And my uniform was a patch. It wasn't even a real number. It was like a sewn-on patch on because all the uniforms were already given out.
Right.
And I had a patch number 21. That was my first number.
Oh, okay. That was in 20. Okay, so you like that number 21. Okay.
Dominique Wilkins, that was my guy.
Oh, okay. I was gonna ask you why you wore 21. So Dominique Wilkins. Okay. Cool.
Dominique was my guy, and I had to play freshman ball, and then it helped me learn to play with people that may not have been at the same level I was, because I should have been playing varsity, but I had to play freshman.
Man.
Freshman season ended. They moved me up to JV for the last couple games.
Man.
And then right before the playoffs started, I got to sit varsity. Now, I never got any minutes varsity freshman year, but I got to sit varsity.
You got
and
to
see how like the varsity guys did it.
Right. Hey, JP, hold that thought, man, because I got somebody who's on the line here. I'm not gonna butcher her. Her first name is spelled Katey. Is that Katie? Maybe Katie James. Well, she says she is listening from England right now. So it's good to hear from you, Phoenix. That's what she's saying.
Katie, listen, she was in Leicester, my first pro team I played for.
Uh-huh.
And I hate to say this for the young players listening. Uh-huh. She let me tend her bar. They had a bar called Rosie's in Leicester. And one night, me and my buddy Drew, we went to the bar to hang out. Uh-huh. And she made fun of us for just hanging out. She said, "Well, if you've been here so long, you might as well work." So she put us behind the bar, a full bar. I've never attended bar ever in my life.
Right.
She puts us behind the bar during the rush hour, and you know, Europeans and English, especially English, they like to drink. Mm-hmm. So here, 2 basketball players pulling pints, serving people, not having a clue what to do. And at the end of the night, I tell you, that's the hardest working job I ever had in my life.
Wow, it's bartending, huh? Tending bar, man.
All that talented, you know.
Yeah, there you go. You can improvise. You and Jasper, you can improvise. That's what we do.
So Katie, hello from New Jersey.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you, Katie, for joining us. We appreciate you. Chris says, my man, Phoenix. And then we got Linda Mullins. She says, hi, y'all. He says, JP from Linda in Ireland. Yeah, my old Jasper pal.
Linda was a part of the cool crew, you know. And funny story about me and her in Terminal for all the Jaspers that are out there listening. Okay. I never had Sambuca in my life, and thanks to Linda, she introduced me to Sambuca.
And then the rest is history, all right?
But she's doing well. She's recovering from some treatments. Okay. So hopefully she's doing a lot better out there, and she's coaching her young son and friends out there in Ireland. So I know they're going through some crazy COVID stuff, so hopefully she's doing okay.
Yes, definitely. Yes, Katie James says, "Oh, she loves you," and Jen says, "Oh my God, the terminal, good memories." Yes, the terminal on Broadway, on the campus of Manhattan, well, down below the campus of Manhattan College, but the terminal, man, we gonna get back to those stories, but I want to get back to your high school deal. So you was talking about your freshman year. You didn't play a lot, but you got a chance to, learn the ropes and see what goes on. So after did you play like from your sophomore years on varsity, or?
Well, Jim Crawford, legendary coach at the time. Mm-hmm. He, I remember, like I said about the ineligible list, he saw me walking down the hall and just shook his head in disappointment. Mm-hmm. And that got to me, like, man, this guy was, he was waiting for me to be that shining light, and I disappointed him. I couldn't do it. So the next year I got my, grades tight, everything was tight, and I'm a sophomore starting varsity, and we had great teams. We won 20 games. There's a consecutive record. They won 20 games for over 30 years.
Wow, man.
And now his son is the coach, Matt Crawford. He coaches.
Oh, cool.
But at that time, I'm a freshman. I'm skinny, 6'6", 6'7" kid, playing center, but can also play the wing. And,
right.
And, we made it all the way to semifinals that year.
Wow.
And we lost in the semifinals.
Man.
State of New Jersey.
Uh-huh.
And it was an awakening. You have that moment where you're like, man, I could be good at this.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Mm-hmm. And come to find out, 2 years later, I'm the all-time leading scorer for Camden Catholic.
Wow.
We lost in the final. Unfortunately, we didn't get to make the big tournament, but, we got there, and it helped, I guess, make awareness for me as a player to the college coaches.
Yeah. And we're going to talk about recruiting in a second. We got my man John Lee joining. What's going on, John? Welcome to Transition Tuesday, sir. Appreciate having you. So, JP, man, okay, so we're talking about, you're making that transition, college coaches are looking at you. What schools were recruiting you besides Manhattan College?
Well, thankfully, I got to play in Philly a lot. I played in Sunny Hill League. I played in some other little leagues, the Total Response League at the time. And college coaches would come to see the Philly kids.
Okay.
Right? But I always, at first, played against the Philly kids because I was the Jersey. I was on the Jersey team.
Right.
And I had a coach. I had a coach. He pulled my dad actually to the side, and he said, John Arnett, and he said, look, your son don't need to play on them teams. You need to play in Philly. So they put me on the Philly team. And once I got on that Philly team, it's just like every college coach from everywhere was starting to take notice. They got the 6'6", 6'7" kid, and he can shoot from the outside. He can create off the dribble. He can run like a deer. He can jump out the gym.
Yeah, he dunks everything. Yep.
and now all of a sudden I'm getting letters from UNLV, Clemson, Michigan, Rutgers, UMass. All these big-time schools are about flooding in.
Wow.
And it got to the point where my parents and my high school coach, the summer of going into my senior year, we had to eliminate like all these schools.
Man.
And me growing up, I'm not really a big time kid, and the way I was thinking, it was I wanted to be close to home.
Right.
I wanted to be to where my family and friends could see me play. That the possible chance I got on TV, somebody could watch it from home. So I kind of eliminated the West Coast.
Wow. Okay, because you wanted to be closer to home.
I kept it all into basically the Northeast. So all the schools that were recruiting me, and there were probably about over 100 at the time.
Wow.
I kind of chopped it down to maybe like half.
Man.
And it was only the East Coast.
Man, that's major. That is major. Hey, so JP, and before I go on, we got Annette joining us from the D. What up, though? What up, cuz? Thank you for joining us here on Transition Tuesdays. Appreciate having you. So JP, so you're getting recruited heavily and everything. So, and we're going to talk about your recruitment at Manhattan College in a moment, but When did you know you had the talent to play Division I basketball? Was it the confidence you were getting from these letters that were pouring in all of a sudden? But like, was there a certain time for you, like when you knew, like, hey, look, I think I could play Division I basketball?
For me, I was a team player. Your high school is team.
Yep.
And back in that time, it wasn't really, if you were a standout, you were looked down upon.
Yeah.
So
yep.
I go to camp my junior year.
Mm-hmm.
I go to 5-star.
Okay, you go to legendary 5-star. I never went, man. I never went to 5-star.
Really, and Garth was the guy at 5-star.
Absolutely.
And I showed out at 5-star.
Oh, you did your thing. Oh, okay.
And I got to play in the orange and white game.
Oh, that's like the All-Star game, right? Type deal?
That's the big All-Star game where the whole camp, the parents, everybody comes to watch.
Uh-huh.
And I played well. Man. And that's when I knew, like, man, like, this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
I'm gonna be something. And it's tough when you're, the big brother of a little sister, where everything that happens, you're setting an example for the people behind you.
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't have someone to say, hey, follow this lead and this is how you're going to go. Mm-hmm. So for me, the recruitment, it got overwhelming. Because now, like I said, you went from Coach Giannini, who was at Glassboro State, which became Rowan. Mm-hmm. He was the first letter I ever got.
Wow.
It went from a D3 school to now you're getting big-time D1 school.
Man.
And for me, it was like, okay, well, I know I want to be close to home, so that basically every school in Philly, Delaware, Boston, some in North Carolina, those were the schools I was going to target. Mm-hmm. And even New Jersey, like, at the time, Rutgers was the biggest thing. They were in the A-10.
Yep.
Rider was an up-and-coming school.
Okay.
Monmouth as well. So it was just like, okay, I got my choice of all these local schools. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, I meet Coach Lapis and Coach Begley.
Okay. That was going to be my next question for you, JP. How does a kid, an athletic, skilled forward, a clone to Anthony Davis, how's a guy like this from Jersey wind up at Manhattan College? I got to hear the story on this.
So I'm playing in Philly, playing in the Sunny Hill League. Mm-hmm. And then, all the Philly guys, they give you a little bit of razz because you're from Jersey. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what it was, but I had a high school, he's not a teammate, but he played in another school, and he was Mike Melchione. He played and was going to LaSalle.
Oh, yeah, I remember him, yes. Uh-huh.
And at the time, LaSalle was in the MAC.
Yes.
And they were playing Manhattan.
Yes.
And we were supposed to go to the game. It didn't happen. And unfortunately, it was the night Lionel Simmons became the all-time leading scorer.
I remember it well. I was there when he scored over his 3,000-point confetti coming down, raining on my head. I remember like it was yesterday, JP.
So I am watching this game, and I'm seeing Lionel Simmons, and I'm like, you know what? I think I might go to LaSalle. And we could play together, me and Melchione, and all of a sudden, LaSalle didn't recruit me anymore for some reason. They continue to recruit Melchione. So I said, okay, Manhattan College is in New York. And they always say, if you can play in New York, you can make it anywhere, right?
Yes.
I said, he's my rival in high school. Why not be rival in college? I said, I wonder what this Manhattan is all about. I'm thinking like Manhattan is, downtown Manhattan, And lo and behold, I hear about Chris Williams in Summer League. And from the Worley brothers.
Really?
And yes. And all of a sudden now, Manhattan sends me a letter. And I'm like, okay, I got a letter from Manhattan. I'm going to keep this because I really want to go there because I know I'm going to play in Philly at least once every year.
Right. Yep.
Play LaSalle. And then to play against my rival. Lo and behold, I meet Coach Lapis, I meet Coach Beglane, Coach Leonard as well. And it just seemed like everywhere I played that senior year, your preseason tournaments, all these they were there.
They showed up.
They were there heavy.
Uh-huh.
They were there at my house. They were there at the gym. They were there. Somehow they knew where we were going to eat afterwards. Coach B and Coach, they were there.
Yeah, they had those great recruiting tactics.
So everywhere I looked, I just saw Manhattan. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna take a visit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the Manhattan story begins. You know, just having a visit. They had a home visit. Home visit went well. My mom grilled Coach Lapp and Coach B so hard. Like, I felt bad for them at one point. I was like, Mom, you gotta chill out.
She gotta take care of her baby. Hey, that's how that goes.
Hey, they're never gonna come back and recruit me after talking to you. We had a good visit, and next thing you know, I'm up the turnpike coming to Dratty, coming to Riverdale.
Wow. Now, hold that thought for a second, JP, because speaking of Manhattan College, I got Maria on the line. She is joining us here on Transition Tuesday. She's shouting you out too there, JP.
Tell Maria, one of the best volleyball players I got to see.
Wow.
Hello.
Man, I never knew that. Maria, I never knew you played volleyball then. Wow. There we go. Shout out. Love having you, Maria. Glad you came. Man. So, okay, so continue. So you head to Manhattan. And you know, funny thing about what you talk about with Coach Beglane, you know, Coach Beglane, we had a tradition. I'm not sure if I might have shared this story before, but every time before every game when Coach Beglane was there, and speaking of Coach Beglane, when Coach Beglane was at Niagara, and he recruited me, and he was my first visit at home, my first home visit. Yep, Coach Beglane when he was at Niagara. So Coach Beglane, again, we used to have a ritual. Coach Beglane used to punch me in my chest each time. I mean, you know, things, you can't do that now. But like before the game, he used to always punch me in my chest and say, Russ, play with enthusiasm. And then I punch him back, you know, lightly in the chest. Right. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's a ritual we have. So yeah, shout out to Coach Beglane. Continue, my man. I'm sorry about that.
Coach B. So Coach B was the first guy to drive me from my house in South Jersey to practice. So, you know, my mom was like, you know, you're not leaving school early, so pick me up from the house, and he's driving 100 miles an hour to get to practice, right? So we take, I guess, a 2-hour trip, hour and a 45-minute trip. We make it in like an hour and 15 minutes. Uh-huh. Like, Coach B is driving on the side of the shoulder. You know, he's driving. He's going through stoplight. He's going to get me to practice, watch the end of Jasper practice.
Uh-huh.
We get there in time, and I meet Chris Williams. I meet Keith Bullock. I meet Carrie Edwards, Carrie Wilson. I meet Charles Dubra.
Yes.
I meet David Burnsley. I meet all these guys.
You didn't meet me, JP? I'm surprised.
You know what? I didn't meet you the first time.
Okay.
But I'm gonna tell you where I met you the second time.
Okay.
Right? I met you in characters.
Get out of here! Really?
I met you in characters. How funny is that?
That is hilarious. We go from the terminal to characters.
we're gonna hit all them bars on Broadway.
Yes,
they
yes.
were the best times.
Man.
Don't tell anybody.
Uh-huh.
So I meet you in characters, and it's Russ, and you know, and you're holding court, and I'm just like, man, this is a cool guy. I said, you know what? After meeting Chris and Bull and all those guys, I'm like, man, I wonder if he's gonna be here when I'm here.
Right.
Didn't realize you were a senior.
I was senior, yeah. I was leaving. Yep, me and Charles. Yep.
So here we go. I meet all you guys, and I'm having a good time. I meet Greg Rock. I meet all these great Jasper guys, and I'm like, man, this is like family here.
Mm.
I'm like, I'm coming here. Mm-hmm. Now, I still had 4 other visits to go to.
Did you really? Okay.
I still had Rutgers. I still had Ryder. I had Loyola. I had all these visits, and I just, well, not all, but I had more visits. But I was like, man, this is home. It feels like home.
Wow.
So after meeting you in characters and spending the weekend there, it's so funny because Chucky Atkins was there with me.
Chucky Atkins, yes. Uh-huh.
Chucky Atkins was from South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And we were up in Manhattan. I want to say October, November. It's cold. The weather's changed.
Yep.
I'm in a real coat. Chucky's in a members only jacket.
Oh, members only. Oh my God.
Members only. Right? That's probably the thinnest to paper jacket you'll ever be able to wear.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I'm going to all the classes. I'm following Chris because I want to be in communications. Chris was a communications guy. I'm going to classes. I'm meeting all these professors. And Chucky, he's in the city.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Chuck, man, what's going on? We gonna play together? He said, man, I just came to New York because I ain't never been here before. So Chucky was using it as a way to get to New York City.
Right.
But I was using it as a way, I'm coming here. I think I'm gonna come here and play.
You're right. Mm-hmm.
So I met all these great people, had a great weekend, and then I go home and I told my mom, I said, Mom and Dad, I said, I think this is where I want to be.
Mm.
I said, I don't know if I want to go visit to the other places.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't tell, Coach Lap or Coach B at the time. They always bring you in the office right before you leave.
Yes, Another great recruiting tactic they've done.
How did you like your time? How the guys? Do you think you can, play with them? And I'm like, yeah, great. They're like, so you want to sign right now? I was like, oh, hold up. I got to think this over.
Right.
But I knew in my head I was coming.
Right.
And, and luckily enough, the other visits didn't pan out the way, to compete with Manhattan. And here I am now, signed before the basketball year, my senior year in high school started. Mm-hmm. I'm a Jasper.
Man. Hey, let's look out and see what the people are talking about here, JP. So you got Jen. Jen says that team, the 92 through 96, was the absolute best. So she has some hand claps on that. And then we got Uncle Smoothie. Uncle Smoothie says, in my opinion, Phoenix is the best pro prospect the school has ever had. Tremendous skill set. I agree.
I tell you, it's different because you played in the era where tough rumble baskeball was key. There wasn't any pop. There wasn't any stretch fours.
Right.
There wasn't any .5s. It was you're big, you're by the basket. Mm-hmm. You may be able to shoot a 15-footer.
Right.
You not moving out the 19, 20 feet.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, and I know we'll talk about this later. It was a hard transition for me the first couple of years.
Yeah.
Because I was so used to playing differently and under another coach.
Yeah.
That I never even met. So it was a very big transition since we're here on this Tuesday.
That's right.
To talk about it.
Right. Definitely. Man. So let's talk about this now, JP. So you get to Manhattan, you sign with Manhattan. Again, you thought, Lapis was going to be there because they recruited you. And then, we find out because I've had Lap on the show. I had him on the show maybe 3 weeks ago. And the old story was this, JP, people thought that, Manhattan, Coach Lapis went from Manhattan College to going to coach at Villanova. We thought we got him that job. I'll play in 92. We got him that job. So he went there. But unbeknownst to us in the story, statute of limitations, the stories, come about nowadays. But Coach told us, he was like saying, you know what? Coach was politicking to get that job to go to Villanova. He made the calls, so he takes the job at Nova. So you got my man Justin, he's coming in here, new coach and everything. How was that? How was that transition for you, man? I mean, you come into a new coach now with Coach Fran here.
Well, it was tough because at the time, once you signed a letter of intent, you were bound to that school.
Right.
And I remember when I heard the news, I heard it on the news in South Jersey. The Philly News broke breaking news. Raleigh Massimino is out. Steve Lapis is a new head coach. And I was just like, and I hate to say this, I was like, I'm going to Villanova.
I was just going to ask you, did you have your bags packed to go to Nova?
I was ready. I had newspapers, I had television calling me because they were thinking I was going to Villanova.
And
lo and behold, Kerry Kittles is the reason that rule change came about.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was signed to play for Raleigh, from what I understood.
Uh-huh.
And he didn't want to go to Nova.
Mm.
And there was a whole big thing about, I think, about when coaches leave, like how the players left to fend for themselves.
Right.
And I think, because I didn't hear from Lapis for about, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks.
Mm.
And I guess they were trying to convince Kittles to stay at Nova.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And because I think he was from New Orleans and he was going to go somewhere else.
Yup, St. Aug High School. Yup, in New Orleans. Yup, a legend in New Orleans.
So I didn't hear anything. So I had people calling me and there wasn't any texting back then, but newspapers calling, showing up, hey, can we get an interview? And I didn't know what to say because I didn't know.
You didn't know?
What was going on.
Right.
So finally I hear from Lapis, and I'm geeked up because now I'm thinking, hey, I'm about to be a Villanova Wildcat,
Mm-hmm.
And he hits me with the news, JP, hey, I know you heard the news. I'm going to Nova. Mm-hmm. And the first thing he said after that was, I think Manhattan's going to be a great place for you. so right then and there, I knew, you're not going to Nova.
And you know what, JP? We got Bill on here. Bill says that's a good thing you didn't go to Nova. That was for Manhattan's benefit.
Coach Lapp's good man. I love him. Last time I got to see him was at an induction for Manhattan College for one of the 92 team, I think it was.
Yes.
We sat at the table, took pictures. He's a good guy.
Yes.
I don't hold it against him.
Absolutely, man.
But yeah, like I when he said, "Hey, Manhattan's a great place for you," I knew, okay, we're going to Manhattan.
We're going to Manhattan. Yep.
Got that. So we talked, and I wish him the best. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, "Well, I hope we don't play each other." Mm-hmm. And lo and behold, we did those 4 years.
Right.
So now I'm thinking, okay, you're going to Manhattan. Coach B, is still there.
Right. He
so
stays.
Coach B, and now you have Coach Fraschilla, who was at Providence. Mm-hmm. Now Providence was recruiting me at the time,
really?
But I went to visit Providence in the summer, and I realized, man, this is not where I want to be. I know it's great basketball, great history, but I didn't want to live in Providence.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So I go to Manhattan, Coach Fran's the new coach, and the next level of my growth in basketball takes place.
With Fran Fraschilla. Now.
With Fran Fraschilla.
Yes. And speaking of Fran Fraschilla, I had Fran on the show 2 weeks ago. And who did we talk about? We talked about Justin Phoenix. So, JP, I want to play this little excerpt of what Coach Fran talked about you when your name came up, okay? Just hang tight for me right here. Tell me if you can hear it. 1 second. Let me play this here. Get my little engineering skills going here. There we go. Let's see.
And I inherited JP as an incoming freshman.
Right.
And, all I did for 2 years was yell at him. And he frustrated me. I could never get him to play to his full potential. So I yelled at him for 2 years. And first practice of his junior year, I'm yelling at him. And after practice, I said, I had enough. I call him over. In Daddy Gym.
Okay.
Underneath the basket near the parking lot. Right?
Oh, okay. I know the basket quite well.
And I said, JP, man, I can't do this another year. What do I got to do to get you to play harder? He goes, Coach, stop yelling at me. And I go like this. Okay, I'm going to try that. And the next 2 years, his junior and senior year, and especially his senior year, where he started, because he was really a starter.
Yes.
Even on the 95 team, he was a starter. But the next 2 years, JP was great. He was great. And anytime I wanted to yell at him, I just bit my tongue. And it just taught me a lesson. Some guys like Ted Ellis or Chris Williams, you could yell at them, they'd look at you, think you were crazy, but wouldn't overreact. With JP, he shut down. So once I stopped yelling at him, I learned a great lesson.
Man.
Everybody.
Man, did you hear that, JP?
Coach is not lying. those first 2 2 years, boy. Whew.
Wow.
Man,
So
man.
so that was tough. So that was all it was. So we had JP. It was like, okay, yeah, here's what you can do. You can stop yelling at me. I think I'll get the message already. Please, all right?
Well, it's a good story behind all that because, you come in, you're thinking one way.
Mm-hmm.
A coach that recruited you had intentions of you to play a wing, and now you're playing behind an All-American 250-pound power forward.
Yes.
And you are $185.
Right.
Right? And to guard Keith Bullock every day may have been the hardest thing I've ever done.
Wow.
Because no matter, all I could do freshman year was foul him.
Uh-huh.
And I was fouling him, didn't even realize I was fouling him.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're light in the pants,
Mm-hmm.
And Keith is a great guy. I know there were some days he probably wanted to, kick me through a wall. But, but I had to grow. I had to grow under a new coach. I had to grow under a new system, playing a different style. And it was a lot. And I think as a freshman,
Mm-hmm.
it's a little easier now because the way AAU is, they treat you like, pros as it is. But
Yeah.
for me, it was like, I didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know who to turn to because, like I said, it was new to everybody.
Yes.
Coach Fran was new for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I had to learn by going through the fire.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't play a lot freshman year. I think I may have played probably like 29 minutes the whole year.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't a lot.
Right.
But I learned under Keith. I learned under Chris, Carey, Wilf. I learned under the vets, Don Elliott, Jamal. I learned under the vets how to maneuver.
Yeah.
So my sophomore year, I'm thinking, well, we had great success. Those guys are gone. Now it's time to step up.
Right. Uh-huh. Definitely.
And I started the year as a starter. Kareem Brown was a good guy. We played against each other in high school.
Mm-hmm.
We were battling for that starting position.
Shout out to Brown. That's right. Yes. Kareem Brown.
Brownie in the building, and we had to fight.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, it was whoever was going to be good that day was going to get a start the next day.
Yeah.
And I guess it was my turn, and I started. I wound up starting the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was great. Things were going well, and then all of a sudden it changed. I got hurt.
Mm.
And I was a 90s kid. I was, you get hurt, you keep playing. You put some dirt on it.
Right. You keep going. You put some Robitussin on, you ready to roll.
But I didn't understand how when you're hurt, if you play, they're expecting you to play at the capacity that they need you to play at.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they need you at 100%, 110% all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I
Definitely.
was probably playing at 50%.
Right.
And it was making me look so. I know, looking back at some of the games that I looked so bad out there.
Mm.
But I was afraid to say something.
Yeah, you're
and
injured.
Finally, it got to the point we were playing the Buffalo road trip at Canisius.
Okay.
And we were playing against Craig Wise, the Philly kid. I knew him from playing in Philly.
Yeah.
And I tried to guard him, and he was lighting me up. And it was one of those like, well, you're not going to play. You're not ready.
Right.
So, you're hearing the yelling. You're not at 100%. You're frustrated, and it boiled to a point, but I didn't know what to say,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because basically now everybody's seeing an opportunity to jump ahead,
Yeah, definitely. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yep. You could get lost in the mix, yep, because a lot of competition going on.
It was big competition now because, your senior year and Chris and Bulls and them guys' senior year,
Mm-hmm.
they put now Manhattan's on the map now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we didn't want to be a flash in the pan, a one-shot wonder.
Right.
It was, you're now trying to build tradition.
Yep, keep it going, yeah, no doubt.
So, I'm sparingly coming in. I'm not playing well, and I can see the frustration. It was all around through all the coaches, and we get to the MAC tournament, and we lose after being up. I want to say up 12 to Loyola of Maryland.
Yeah.
Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to play in the NIT. Now, this is the year after just winning the MAC, and you're going to play. You're playing in Syracuse, in the Carrier Dome versus Virginia. To now you're playing basically in an empty arena called the Scope in Virginia, in Old Dominion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget that. I didn't play well. I'm struggling. We lose. We want to lose an ODU by, I think, 2 or 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm walking in the locker room with Coach Fran, and he just brushes by me, and to talk to the team. Mm. And that's when I knew, you know what? Maybe this isn't the place for me.
Mm.
No one's ever noticed. So you're getting exclusive.
I'm getting exclusive on Transition Tuesdays. There we go, JP. All right.
I literally, when he brushed by me to talk to the team, I was like, you know what? I think I've worn out my welcome here with Coach.
Mm-hmm.
So I never said nothing to anyone. I let them know how bad the injury was to my knee, and we got surgery that summer.
Was it like a normal scope or something like that, or? I
wound up tearing my meniscus, and they did some damage to the cartilage around my knee. So they tried to fix it over the summer, and it was a process, but we got right.
Yeah, and especially like when you had a meniscus tear back then, it wasn't like it is now. That's like you in the same day and you leaving the same day, with a meniscus tear. But
right, for me it was basically 6 weeks of rehab, or 4 weeks of rehab, and then 2 weeks of trying to play. Mm-hmm. Well, I only have the summer to get back.
Right.
The summer to decide, am I staying in Manhattan or am I going to transfer?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And Paul Burke was my guy at LaSalle, and he was trying. We were at the Penn Relay that school year, and he was like, "Come to LaSalle, come to LaSalle, come to LaSalle." Mm-hmm. And I was just like, LaSalle didn't want me. I'm not coming to LaSalle. Mm-hmm. So the school year starts back up, and I'm ready to go. I rehab my knee. It's my junior year now, and I think, okay, this is it. Jason Hoover is now coming in.
Yeah.
We've got Trav Lyons. We got all these new guys, Fran's recruits coming in.
Right.
Ishimu Evans. I'm like, you know what? It's time to show. It's time to really show.
Mm-hmm. Since you're gonna be there, it's time. Yeah. Since you're gonna be there, you're gonna be there, so you got to compete. You got to show.
We got it. It's about to be show and prove time.
Right.
I get to campus, and you can tell, it's, and I hate to say it, they're pushing those guys. Those are the New York guys.
Absolutely.
Tariq Thacker, Steve McDowell, Brendan O'Brien. These are the guys.
Mm-hmm. Bringing in his crew.
Coming from Spain. These are Fran's guys.
Right.
I now got to become Fran's guy. Mm-hmm. Right? Uh-huh. And we start practicing, and it's starting to go the same way, and I knew in my head, you're a man now. You're almost 21. You gotta speak up.
Yep.
And after this practice, I remember I got yelled at for hanging on the rim for dunking, and Fran threw the ball rack, and he did kick balls and yell and scream. Uh-huh. And I remember after the practice we sat, and he said, look, JP, sink or swim, basically. In the edited version. Mm-hmm, right. And I just told him, he said, what do I have to do to get you to play hard? And I said, Coach, you got to stop yelling at me. Mm-hmm. I said, because when you yell at me, I don't care nothing about nothing other than proving you wrong. And that's hurting the team. Right? I said, if you stop yelling at me, I'm going to play. Because you could talk to me like a man. You could say, JP, stop effing up. JP, don't turn the ball. You could just tell me. Right. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to do it. Because I've come from a basketball background from high school, playing in the Philly. You don't have to yell. The yelling, yelling is for people that can't get through to a player. Just talk to them.
Right, yeah, yep. You probably shut down, because of the yelling.
I just shut down because it was now, to me, because I didn't truly understand a lot of things that were going on, it was personal. If you yelled at me, it was where I come from, it's personal.
Right, yeah,
Your voice is personal.
Yep.
And I didn't see it how Coach needed me to see it. I just saw it as, look, you yell at me one more time, and we're going to have some problems.
It's on Jersey style.
Right, it's problems. you know?
Mm-hmm.
And after he sat down and talked to me, things became like, it was like light and day. And I need to thank Mr. Hoover, Jason Hoover's father, because he sat and talked. He helped me because, you know, my parents were in South Jersey.
Right.
Mr. Hoover, I remember after that practice, he just miraculously was there. Probably wasn't there for anything to see Jason, but we went to the office to talk, and we had a great talk. And after that point, it was like a whole new world.
Wow, because I know Jason's dad played pro. Didn't he play for the Knicks? I think at one point.
He was a Knicks legend.
Yeah.
You know, and you saw that how he was, how Jason was, and you know, it was great to compete with Jay. You know, I didn't understand why he didn't wear spandex or a jockstrap under his shorts during practice, but we learned from that. Sorry, Jay, I didn't mean to put you out there if you're listening, but like, you just learn how to play harder.
Right. And
I got to use my inside-outside skills and then learn how to play like how Hoover played. So it made, like what they say, iron sharpens iron.
Yep.
We all made each other better. And then, you know, Jamal was still there, 6'11".
Yep.
You know, you wasn't moving Jamal nowhere. Jamal was, you know, he was holding it down, but now we could complement Jamal in so many different ways.
Definitely. Yes. That's true.
And from that, I honestly believe that was the best year. That 1995 team was probably the best, and I know Chris is going to debate me, but I think that was the best team in Manhattan College history.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Let's hold that thought for us. Let's see who's joining us here. We got my man James Randy Williams, my cousin, joining us. What's going on, James? We also got Jacqueline joining us, our Jasper sister joining us. Linda says to you, JP, she goes, so JP, don't yell at me. That's what she says.
Oh, yeah.
And then we got, go ahead, JP, you saying?
I said a lot of friends heard the frustration outside of the basketball community.
Absolutely. No doubt about it. We got my man Al joining us as well. And we got Jen says, put some tussin on it. That's what we talked about. You know, we 90s, you know, we're 90s kids. We just go out there, put some tussin on it, we ready to roll, you know? And Linda says, junior year, what a team. Yes. So that 95 team. So let's talk about that 95 team there, just because, you know, that was the team that, you know, you guys were like the first, like the mid-major to get an at-large bid because you guys lost in the MAC championship, the MAC tournament, right? So you lost in that game, but you got an at-large bid, and you guys were the first team, I think the first ever mid-major team to get an at-large. And not only get an at-large, but you guys won that game. So talk to me a little bit about that 95 team, the team that you said is probably the best team ever.
That 95 year, it just seemed like every time we were on the court, we knew we were winning. You know, you watch the, you know, Chicago Bulls documentary, and when Scottie Pippen, I remember him saying, you know, they didn't think they were going to lose. You know, they would go for months without losing.
Yeah.
And we thought we were the same way. We really felt like every gym we go to and every time we play at home, we're not losing.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where I don't know if it was overconfident or we just knew what was going to happen.
Right.
Because we had just played St. Peter's probably like the week before the MAC tournament. And we had beat them by 20 points. It was an easy win. So we get to the MAC tournament. I think our first round game was that picture that was on Instagram, me blocking, I can't remember his name right now, but me blocking a shot from Niagara.
Yep, that long arm of the Lord just blocking that shot. I see you, 21 out there. I see you. Keep going.
Yeah, it was a block party. Everybody was invited. And so we breezed through Niagara. We play Iona next, and I probably had the best play of my life that game. We got a rebound and we're out on the break. Ted Ellis and Keegan is pushing it down the floor. And Ted was bringing it down. Keegan was on one wing. I was trailing. And Tomiskus, I think, was from play for Iona. He was in the paint. And I remember Ted, I didn't even think Ted looked at me. You know, I'm trailing the play.
Uh-huh.
Ted goes to the hole, and he drops off a bounce pass. And I'm like, oh, I got to get it, you know.
Uh-huh.
He dropped it off. I caught it at just about a step inside the free throw line and took off.
Mm.
And all I remember is I dunked it over to Miscus, and I was going so fast that I slipped off the rim. And I landed on top of Miscus. And ESPN is filming the game,
Uh-huh.
and I get up, and I make, you know, I was one of the first ESPN highlights, you know, slap him on the butt on the way down court,
Uh-huh.
blow out Niagara. So here we are now. We're about to go play in the finals, St. Peter's.
Right.
So we're already thinking about where we're going to play in the tournament.
That's right.
You
The
know?
seeding, where you're going to be seeded and everything. Right.
You know, are we going to be a 9-8 seed?
Mm-hmm.
You know, or, you know, we're thinking where we're going.
Uh-huh.
We knew we weren't going to play in Albany because Albany was probably for like a 16 seed.
Right.
You know, we knew we were traveling.
Right, right. You're going somewhere. Yes.
We're going somewhere. The meal money is coming. We're taking on a plane. We are going somewhere.
Yes, uh-huh.
And long story short, we play St. Peter's, and they win against everything that we studied them over the year.
Mm-hmm.
They literally played Jersey City street ball.
Mm.
And Randy Holmes and Mike Friendly tore us apart.
Mm.
And we somehow forced it to overtime. They beat us in overtime. And now we're sitting there watching them cheer again, because the year before we lost to Loyola in the championship.
Right.
We're watching them cut the net down.
Right.
Now we're watching St. Peter's cut the net down.
Mm.
And I just remember sitting on the bench and I'm watching this and I'm like, oh man, like it just felt like the biggest letdown ever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we let every Jasper fan, we let everyone in New York City down.
Right. I remember watching that game. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I just remember getting in the locker room and it's dead silent.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember if coach spoke. I don't remember anyone spoke. It was just dead silent.
Mm-hmm.
We leave Albany and we get back to campus, and coach says on the bus, look, fellas, it's not in our hands anymore. You know, we had it in our hands. It's not in our hands anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but we're going to keep practicing like we are going to play postseason basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And I think everyone believed that. And we wanted to show that we belong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were going to, if it was the NIT, we were going to try to win the NIT, play in the Garden, and win it all.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we luckily got to the NCAA, we were going to make a statement.
Right. Going to show off.
So I
Right.
think we had won like 25 games. Maybe?
Yeah. Yep.
That
Uh-huh.
year?
Yeah. I think you tied the mark when I was a senior, the most wins at 25. Yeah. Yep. I remember that. Yep.
So we practiced all week. I remember Coach Calipari had come into our practice. Him and Coach Fran were very good friends.
Mm-hmm.
He come to the practice and spoke on, you know, just us getting us ready, you know, staying in the moment, staying
Right.
ready.
Right.
Because we had played them in the Midnight Madness game the year before.
Mm-hmm.
So he came to speak to us. A couple other coaches came to talk to us.
Okay.
But we're practicing hard, like, you know, this train is still moving.
Right. You guys playing next week. Right.
Right. But we had nowhere to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget, we sat in East Hill in the dorm in the lounge,
Mm-hmm.
and we were all watching the selection show.
Yes.
And, you know, coaches ordered pizza from Broadway Joe's. You know, they ordered a bunch of stuff, and we're sitting there and we're watching, and, you know, all these schools are coming by and names ticking off the list.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden we see, like, Oklahoma,
Mm-hmm.
you know, playing in, I guess it was the time of Southeast.
Uh-huh.
You know, in Memphis, Oklahoma, and all of a sudden we see Manhattan.
Oh man, how was that feeling? How was that when you saw Manhattan?
When I tell you, Russ, the excitement in that room, I swear we probably blew the top off East Hill.
Man.
Everybody is jumping around, hugging each other,
Mm-hmm.
grabbing each other. Like, it was just like mayhem.
Man, now did you guys have any clue? Like, did the officials call like Coach Fran to give you guys a heads up? Hey, you guys made the tournament, or you just found out right then?
I'm going to be honest. I think the coaches knew ahead of time.
Okay.
Because they're not going to spend money on pizza and food and everything else for us to just,
Right.
They didn't just let us eat at the cafeteria.
Right, yep.
We weren't going to make it. But I will say that I didn't know, but the excitement to see that Manhattan name play Oklahoma, knowing that you were, a high seed going to play in Memphis, like, honestly, it was probably the greatest moment, but it only lasted for probably about 15 minutes because then we now had to get to work.
Right, you had to get to work, right? And the great thing about that experience was that 5-12 matchup. There's always an upset in that 5-12. So Manhattan was a 12, right? 12 seed.
Yeah, I think we were 12, 13. We were in that
Yep.
that upper range.
Yep, I think you guys were 12 because I think that was a 12-5 matchup.
And I just remember leading into that practice because all the coaches had to, they had tapes. They were getting tapes on Oklahoma. Mm-hmm. Everyone just kept saying they have a pro in their team.
Yep.
They have a pro. Ryan Miner, he's a pro.
Ryan Miner.
He's going to be a pro baseball player or he's going to be a pro basketball player, but he is a pro. Mm-hmm. And literally, I think everyone on that team decided, we're going to show you what New York City basketball is. Mm-hmm. We're going to show you what Manhattan basketball is all about. Mm-hmm. And I remember we got on the plane. We go to Memphis. And, it's Southern. Mm-hmm. It's a little different. It's barbecue and jazz on Beale Street.
On Beale Street, yeah, uh-huh.
And honestly, I think we all were tourists. We were all down there on Beale Street. It's like, we're having a good time thinking, man, like, this is so different because, we're coming here for a job, but this is now where we should have been.
That's right.
Yes. We snuck in through the back door, but we're here.
We're here. You're here now, right? Uh-huh.
We're here. And, we enjoyed Beale Street for the first night. We practiced, went to bed that night, practiced the next day, and then we played, I think it was a Thursday. I think we were a Thursday game.
Okay, so
we
like
were
that.
One of the first games. Thursday, Saturday.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget, it was Kentucky. They were there in that bracket. Mm-hmm. Who was the other team? Wow, I can't remember the other team right now. Mm-hmm. Who did Bonzi Wells play for?
Bonzi Wells. Why am I thinking Ball State? I think Ball State.
I want to say Ball State.
Yep.
As well.
Yep.
He was there. Arizona State is there. Mm-hmm. And we're like, all right, we're here. Mm-hmm. We're Little Manhattan.
Yep.
And so game day we get there, and funny thing before, we didn't even know how to get into the building. I remember pulling in on the bus, and we're driving around the pyramid, not knowing how to get in, and we come into like the backest of back doors ever, right? And lo and behold, we're supposed to be on the other side of the building. We come into a different way. So I guess it was ironic how we got into the back door, we came into the arena through the back door.
That's right. Coming for business. That's right.
Right.
No doubt about that. Hey, before you continue on, JP, let's go to people who are saying. So Chris says the 95 team was tough. And then we got my man Edward said he's enjoying the heck out of this conversation. We appreciate that, Edward. Appreciate that, my man. And now Chris says his 93 team birthed the 95 team. I agree with that. I definitely agree with Chris on that.
That is absolute truth. That is absolute truth.
Yes.
The foundation starts from the bottom.
Absolutely. And then Chris says, I must say the 93 team knew how to win in the MAC tournament chip. Okay, we'll give you that, Chris. We'll give you that.
He hit them 25, $50,000 free throws?
Yes, yes, yeah. He told us, Coach Fran told that story, yep. He still collect. He wants half of that, man. He still wants his money on that one. And then my man Edward says a Broadway Joe's reference. There we go. So yeah, we covering all of Broadway, man, from the Terminal characters, Broadway Joe. Yep. So my apologies there, JP. You were saying.
We didn't even get to the Pinewood yet. We'll say that for that.
I know, right? You didn't get the Pinewood yet. That's true. So we're talking about, okay, so you're playing against Oklahoma. And again,
Right, so-
that's 5-12 seed. So talk, walk us through, your thoughts on that and your thought process. Because I remember, like, before you begin on JP, I remember one visual of that game. I remember, man, JP dunking, slapping the boards after the dunk. I remember that. That's just one of the visuals I do remember to this day on that one.
Well, I hate to bust the bubble, but thank God for the angles. But I totally missed the whole backboard. I slapped the air.
Did you really? Oh man, I thought you hit glass. Oh man.
Oh man, I missed the whole glass. I don't know how you miss a backboard that big, but I was so hyped, I missed the whole backboard.
See, I wouldn't know the feeling. Me, I couldn't even jump over a credit card, JP. You know what I mean? So I don't know the feeling, but okay, I got you on that.
But yeah, we practiced in the arena, and when we stepped foot on that court, we were locked in. Like, we knew everything Oklahoma did. Coach Fran, Coach B, Coach Cousins, they had the game plan. I think Coach Cleary was there too.
Yep.
They had the game plan down. We knew everything they were going to do. We knew every play. We knew, what they ate for pregame. We knew everything about Oklahoma. And Coach Sampson was the coach. He's a very good coach.
Yes.
Respected coach. And I knew my job was to be Ryan Miner during our practices.
Okay, so
I knew everything about Ryan Miner. I knew where he was, where he liked to shoot, where he liked to score from, where, he got steal. I knew everything about him. And first play I get in, I was coming in, I was off the bench. We had a great starting five. Right. And I knew my role. Like I said, we spoke, me and Coach Fran spoke. I knew, we spoke. I knew where I needed to be, what I needed to do. And I felt comfortable coming off the bench and being a spark. And I know, like you said, like, I was a starter, but I came off the bench. I did what was the best for our team.
Right. Yep. All about sacrifice. That's how you get it done.
Yep. So I come in the game, and they're running an elbow, looked like an elbow, play off the elbow, and I steal it. Because I knew it was coming. I steal it, we go down the other way, and I'm into it now. Like, Ryan Miner couldn't, he's a pro, man. You're a pro, well, guess what? I'm a pro too.
Right.
And we're battling all game. And like I said, I'm only in there for periods of time. Now, let's be honest, he was a pro. Like, he scored his points, and, he was crafty, getting fouled and getting to the line, getting his numbers. But it was the hardest, I feel, it was probably the hardest game one of the hardest games he probably had to be a part of.
Yeah, because like guys like you and Shimu Evans, even Travis Lyons, Hoover, you got so much athleticism against that guy that he doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Yeah, we were just running bodies at him, and we were being physical. And they got to one point, he was so frustrated, like he tried to elbow, And I think that you see it on YouTube that game. He tried to elbow, and I grabbed him by the shirt.
Nice, there you go. That jersey was coming out. Jersey.
Hey, listen, it wasn't happening here tonight. Like, you wasn't just going to elbow somebody without being, addressed.
Right.
And I think then he knew. Like, once we frustrated him, it was over. We had him. And we go on a run. I score a couple points. Geronimo scores a bunch of points, and next thing you know, we're dancing in Memphis,
Man.
And we win a first round game.
Hey, JP, quick question for you. How did Jamal Marshall play in that game? And the reason why I'm saying that because we have Jamal Marshall joining us right now.
Big fella, what's happening? Jamal was the anchor.
Yes.
He held everything down. When we needed a bucket, we went to Jamal. When there was a rebound that needed to be had, Jamal grabbed it. He grabbed it.
Yep.
And Jamal played, and not going back a couple years, he missed out in that Notre Dame game. When I think he broke his wrist.
Right.
So I think a lot of us that knew the history of Manhattan didn't want this to be his last, So we were just playing for Jamal.
Right.
Because if we made it all the way to the Sweet 16, it was going to be, we were riding, Big Marshall's coattails.
Absolutely.
So for us, and I know I'm speaking for a bunch of members of the team. I just know for us, we wanted him to go out with a bang.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And when we beat Oklahoma, it was like, man, like we on top of the world.
Absolutely. We got my man Matthew it looks like a Manhattan historian. He said Minor had 5 turnovers that night. They really frustrated him. So there we got Matthew on the call on that one.
Yeah, it was. He had a handful. It wasn't going to be free playing. He was going to have to earn a victory.
Yes.
And he didn't earn it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know he wound up playing for the Baltimore Orioles. He was Cal Ripken's replacement, but
right.
To this day, Oklahoma mad at him that he had to come up against Manhattan Jasper.
Definitely, man. Let's see who we got. We got Karen Stewart joining. What's going on, Karen? Welcome to Transition Tuesdays. Love having you. And then Chris says that 95 team was good enough to go to Sweet 16. I agree with that. And then Linda says late here in Europe. Says thanks for memories. Great to hear a lot of old names. She says take care. So we're tucking Linda in for the night for Linda because she's in Europe.
Yeah, Linda's probably like 6 hours ahead of us.
Oh boy. Oh, we appreciate you coming on, Linda. We appreciate that definitely, man. Hey,
but yeah, that Oklahoma win,
mm-hmm.
that was very big. Not only for the program, but I think for every mid-major school, because at that time,
mm-hmm.
We were the George Mason before George Mason.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so here we are, and like Coach, I heard him say in his last interview, Coach Fran said in the interview you had with him, he said, "Do not cheer like y'all not supposed to be here. If we're gonna do all the cheering, we're gonna do it in locker room. Because that's how we were. Like we were so." It was like everybody against us, because we had to prove, because everybody thought Georgia Tech should have got that at-large bid. Georgia Tech was, ACC school, and even though they may have won 17 games, their 17 wins were bigger than our 20-plus wins.
Uh-huh.
And so we won. We did a little celebrating. But when we got in that locker room, it was water throwing. We didn't throw no soda because soda was like a key thing.
Right.
You threw all the water, but the soda, we had to take sodas back to the room.
That's right. Right. Yep. There's priorities in this game here, man.
There's priorities. So, but we had a great time, and then we literally got to live it up for maybe half a day.
Mm-hmm.
Because we played early, and I remember. I think it was Jason, Steve McDowell, and Tariq. We went to a place to eat, around Memphis, around the hotel after the game.
Uh-huh.
And Kentucky had just beat whoever they played.
Mm-hmm.
And all the Kentucky fans were like walking along, the avenue where we were. And one came in the store and was like, hey, and I hope I don't get in trouble for this, but we're eating, we got our little meal money. We think we're doing things. And one of the Kentucky fans comes in and said, hey, I watch you guys play. You guys play hard. We hope we meet you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And he wound up paying for all of our food.
Wow. Uh-huh.
And that kind of let us know, like, man, like, we're a part of something right now.
You have arrived. No doubt about that.
We have arrived. Little mid-major MAC school is now stomping with the big dogs, as Martin would say.
Absolutely. Definitely.
So I remember they paid for our food, and we went back to the hotel, and we probably had team dinners and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But now we had to get ready for, Ron Riley, Mario Bennett, and Capers that played at Arizona State.
Yes.
Pac-10 school.
Mm-hmm.
Up and down, running gun. At the time, Bennett was a first-round prospect.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had to lock in again.
Yep.
And things went well until about 8 minutes left of the second half.
Mm-hmm.
That second round match, that second round game, when I had to play, we were up probably, I'm going to say we were up like 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And it's late in the second half. I remember they pressed us. I had to bring it up the court. And I'm bringing it up with the left.
Mm-hmm.
And the lane opens up. And I can't remember his first name, but Bacon was standing under the basket.
Oh,
one of the centers.
Don't tell me you hit him. You hit him? You got him?
I took off, right? And in my head, I'm like, I'm going to try to break the backboard. But the other side of my head was like, man, you better score this point because if you miss, you coming out.
Right.
And I go, and I don't even feel him, and I lay it, and I basically just, drop it in the hoop.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear the whistle, and I'm thinking, oh, man, it's about to be an and one.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, you hear like that whistle, and then you hear the teet, teet, teet. Well, oh, man, he called an offensive foul.
Right. Oh.
And we literally could have went up 5 or 6. And right then and there, like, I don't know if it broke our back,
mm-hmm.
but they just got like a rush, and they went on like a run,
mm-hmm.
and they wound up beating us, I think, by 10.
So that was a big pivotal play. Yep.
But that was a pivotal play because if we go up, I want to say we go up 6,
mm-hmm.
7, we're now in control, and we're going to win this game.
Yep, and you're going to Sweet 16.
We're going to beat Arizona State.
Yep.
Lo and behold, they go on a run. They wind up winning the game. And I think we were all disappointed,
mm-hmm.
but we had some kind of small victory.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Because we knew we played as hard as we could play,
mm-hmm.
but the game was taken from us from the outside source.
Yeah.
We can transition to later when, you talk about some of the things we'll talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But refereeing is key in games.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, JP, because Franny talked about that. He said the actual coach who did it. I forget what he mentioned the guy's name, and he said,
I don't know who the ref was,
mm-hmm.
but I know he was very familiar to the MAC.
Right. Yep. Uh-huh. And Fran went on to say, Fran said out of your guys' 5 losses, he officiated 3 of those.
Yeah, well, he officiated this one in the NCAA tournament, second round.
Right. Oh, man.
And I remember, we had a meal after the game. You do the interviews, you do everything.
Yeah.
And then we're ready to get back on the plane. And I just remember, Arizona State wound up playing Kentucky,
mm-hmm.
and they got mollywopped by probably like 20-something points. But it would have been so ironic for the fan that paid for our meal
mm-hmm.
to finally, he probably knew, we're going to play you guys.
Right.
Yep. And we didn't get a chance to do it. We would have played on CBS on a Thursday night, prime time, Manhattan.
Yep.
But it didn't happen, but we now had something to build on for the future.
That's right.
So for every guy that came in afterwards,
mm-hmm.
All those guys, they had something to be a part of.
Yeah.
Just like you
mm-hmm.
and Smooth.
Yep.
And Brenton, they left something. Jamal, he left a mark. Now it's time to leave a mark for the future.
Yes, absolutely. Because that '95 team, that was a pivotal year and a pivotal team. Because again, people that came in after that, the expectations were set, especially with that team. I mean, not only getting in the first team to ever get an at-large bid, but to win a game. So the bar was really set for that team, that '95 team. Man.
Great memories. Great times. NCAA tournament.
Absolutely. So let's do this. Let's transition to, so your junior year. So now this is your senior year. So talk to us a little about your senior year. Then we're going to talk about how you transitioned from playing at Manhattan College to transitioning to playing ball overseas. But let's talk about your senior year first.
Senior year was, it was, all the expectations were there. Mm-hmm. You're expected to win the MAC. You're expected to go back to the tournament.
Yep.
And now get to the Sweet 16 to even go further.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a mishap, an unfortunate circumstance that changed the dynamic of the team.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And we go from a 20-win team to I think we maybe won 16 games that year.
Right.
We lost key pieces, and
mm-hmm.
it was tough because it's now your senior year.
Yeah.
Your senior year, and you want to go out the right way. You want to go out,
yep.
With a choke, with with a MAC championship, with an NCAA tournament appearance, and now you're scrambling to get to the NIT.
Yeah.
And, you know, we had a hard-fought year. I know the first 3 years we might have lost maybe 5 home games, and I think we lost 5 home games that year.
Yeah.
In Draddy.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And teams, I hate to say it, for that year weren't afraid of Manhattan anymore because they felt like this is the time to pay them back. You know, this is the time to now, you know, get them for the destruction they've done to us over the last 3 years.
Yes, definitely. Right. Yep.
So it made every game was like playing Game 7 of the NBA Finals. You know, because when you went on the road, it was sellouts.
Yep.
Every gym was a sellout. When you played at home, every game was a sellout. Like there was no, you know, there was no just going to the door trying to get a ticket.
Right.
You had to either sneak in through the side doors of Draddy or know somebody.
Right. Yep. It was that thick. Yep.
And when we went down, like teams took advantage. So we now go into the MAC tournament. We were a top 5 seed, but we weren't the top seed. And we played Niagara. And how ironic, the year before we blitzed them, and now this year they beat us in the first round.
Yeah.
And it was heartbreaking because we weren't at full strength, and we had a lot of injuries. I had an injury. I tore my middle finger up.
That's right. I remember.
Split it open. Like it was just a rough year.
Did you do that on the rim or something like that, JP?
No, actually, I did it trying to lift weights.
Did you?
I told you I was $185
right
year. I had grown to like 220. And I thought that was big, you know, big thing. And right during the intercession, we had a weight practice before film, and I wanted to get one more rep in, you know, one more set in. And I dropped the dumbbell to the ground, and this is when they say rack your weight. Somebody left a weight that I didn't see. And I laid my finger, and as I dropped it, my finger got pinched between the weight on the floor and the metal weight in my hand, and it ripped my finger up, like almost the top of my tip of my finger off.
Man, did you have to get surgery for that? Anything like that? Or stitches, major stitches? Or damn.
Thank God. I don't know who the trainer of the St. Joe's women's team was because they were practicing at the time. But I went and I pinched my finger and I'm shaking my hand like, you know, I probably didn't say I probably said a whole bunch of other stuff.
That's right.
Say. And blood is all over that, you know, little weight room in Draddy. Blood is going everywhere. And, you know, you're feeling lightheaded, and the trainer from St. Joe's just happened to be walking past and saw it. And she wrapped it up and she did everything she could to keep it from, you know, bleeding out, so to say. And I go to the hospital, Doc Eunice, you know, he took care.
Dr. Eunice.
Doc Johnson did what he had to do there, but then and Lisa, you know, Lisa T.
Right.
But thankfully the trainer for St. Joe's, I don't know who she was. I never really got a chance to thank her, but she saved probably my finger, the tip of my finger.
Wow, man. Shout out to her.
And and Doc Eunice sewed it up, and I had to wear this humongous ET middle finger piece probably for like 2 months.
Damn.
With stitches all, it was a mess.
Right.
We got through it. You played anyway.
Yep.
You know, you wrap it up, you tape it up, you put as much cushion as you could to play.
Yep.
Because you were giving yourself up for the team. So.
Absolutely. Put some tussin on it, you ready to roll, just like Jen said.
But that senior year was tough. You know, we were fortunate to make the NIT. We played at Wisconsin, which was a tough place to play.
Yeah. Even
when they were at intercession, you know, they had a guy, Sam Oki. He was transferring. He was a great player. And at the time, and we were up at halftime, and it fell apart. You know, the Big Ten, Wisconsin, Coach Bennett, they took over. They wound up winning, and season was it. That was it. Season was over. You know, you didn't go out the way you wanted to, but you were fortunate to play another postseason game.
Yeah, and like a guy like yourself four postseason, tournaments appearances, man. You up there, JP definitely is one of the all-time winningest players in the history of Manhattan College, bar none.
Well, I think Jamal probably is number one.
Yeah, I think Jamal got you. Because of that 93, and he could have really, really separated his thing, because when I see Jamal, every time I see Jamal, I say, Jamal, thank you, man, but because of you getting hurt, I missed out on not getting a MAC championship. So I tell him that all the time. So he could have had a championship from his freshman year, on, man. So, but yeah, Jamal Marshall is the all-time winningest player ever. School's history.
Jamal's number one, and I know I have to be near him. As long as I'm near Hall of Famer, I'm cool with that.
You're cool with that.
I'm cool with that.
I hear you, man. I hear you. So, JP, let's talk about that transition. Okay, so now you're done with Manhattan College. Talk to us about the transition of playing professional ball for close to 10 years. Talk to us about that transition, because that's a big one there.
Yeah, it was something. Because of the success in Manhattan, Coach Fran got an opportunity to move on, and now I'm have an opportunity to decide: are you going to stay in school and get a master's? Are you going to get a job, or are you going to try to continue to play?
Right.
So I stayed in the gym, did the occasional hanging out with a lot of students that you didn't get to hang out with for 4 years because you were so locked in.
Yes, right.
That, you got to work, go to class, finish up school, and work out, and then hang out. So for me, it was just a matter of now, this is a business. Everything you do is a business.
Right.
If it doesn't help the business, then it's not for you.
Right.
So I would work out. I think Coach Leonard was the coach, and Coach Childs was still around. I would work out with the guys still, and I would do stuff on my own.
Okay.
And then I got an opportunity because of Big Bull, to join the agency he was a part of.
Wow.
And they were based out of Philly.
Okay.
So for me, that was good because it was close to home. I know they were going to treat Big Bull. They treated Big Bull decently, so I figured, okay, here's a shot. Exclusive story for you right now.
Okay, this is an exclusive on Transition Tuesday. What you got, JP?
It's going to come back around to New York.
Okay.
So I'm home in South Jersey, and I had this agency from Philly, and I had this young up-and-coming agent come into my high school to talk with, my family and my high school coach. And his first guy was Rick Brunson. He's, based his teams are based in Australia. I didn't really know much about Australia. I knew about Spain because we did the Spanish trip in between my junior senior year. And he's talking about Australia, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm not really, digging Australia, because I didn't really know much about Australia.
Right.
This man, his name is Leon Rose.
Leon Rose. Oh, that name sounds familiar, especially with the Knicks now.
Leon Rose could have been and should have been my agent coming out of Manhattan College. But because he was based primarily positioning players in Australia, and I wanted to play in mainland Europe, I didn't go with Leon. So how about that?
How about that? Now, what is Leon's title now with the Knicks now?
I'm not 100% sure of the title, but he is prominent in the future of the New York City Knicks.
Absolutely. He is. He is. Wow.
So I wind up signing with the team from Philly. I go on a few, showcases, and I wind up playing in England. That was my first job. Leicester, England. It's in the Midlands of England. Now, England is probably the size of New Jersey.
Okay.
It's its own island. Basketball is probably not the first sport. Soccer is number one.
Yeah.
And then rugby is probably number two. So we had in our town, one of the better soccer clubs, one of the better rugby clubs. So we were sort of the middle child.
Okay.
We had a great run. We made the playoffs our first year. We got knocked out in the first round. But for me, I had my first professional season playing in England.
Yeah.
So I had all the confidence in the world. Bob Dunnerwall was my coach, and he yelled and screamed, but it was nothing like Coach Fran.
That's
so
right.
I was cool.
Right, you were good.
He couldn't compete to that.
Right.
Plus now, I hate to say it, but you're getting a check every 2 weeks. So now you can do all the hollering and screaming you want because I was fighting for an extra meal in the cafeteria in Manhattan.
Right.
Now I get to buy my own dinner.
That's right. Yep.
So you learn how to be the business. The basketball is a business. So I thank Coach Fran. I always do thank him for helping me see that. He saw that. Use the sport as a business.
Absolutely.
And we continue to talk to this. Ever since I played overseas and even now, working with the NBA, we talk. About once a month. I want to say.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
But yeah, playing in England was great. I met a lot of friends, a lot of good people. Like say Kathy that worked at Rosie's. Where I tended the bar. Yeah, it was a great opportunity. Just to see something outside of America.
Wow.
The next year, because the contract was up, normally in Europe at that time you sign 1 year deals.
Right.
I got an opportunity to play in Korea.
Really?
And it was triple the money from England. You're playing, everything was first class. So I go to Korea. I'm one of 2 Americans. I play with a guy, good friend, Cliff Reed. He was from New Mexico.
Okay.
He played at New Mexico, and he was a beast. He was 6'5". He had 40 rebounds in one game. Like, he grabbed everything off the glass.
Damn, right, man.
And we had, I learned a lot from him as a second-year pro. We make it to the championship round, and I get kicked in the leg by one of the Korean players, right? And somehow, some way, he broke my leg.
Wow.
I had a fracture in my leg. And this tells you about the business of basketball. The Korean team knew it. They went and got me x-rays and said everything was fine. They did all the wrapping and taping because they wanted to play.
Right.
They wanted to win.
Uh-huh.
So I'm out here playing on one leg in a 7-game championship series. We go up 2-0. We go up 3-1.
Uh-huh.
And everybody says Golden State blew a 3-1 lead. No. JP blew a 3-1 lead on one leg in Korea.
Oh.
We wound up losing Game 7 in Korea.
Man, but you were only on one leg, though. You gotta give yourself a break on that one. Not on that one, JP.
But I didn't realize it was broken until I flew back to America.
Man.
So they did everything they could to say it wasn't a break. It was just a bad bruise. But I knew, as a player,
yes,
something's not right. So as I land back in JFK, the facts came to my agent saying they no longer wanted my services.
Oh, man.
Because they knew of the break and they didn't want to be liable.
Right.
So luckily I got my money before I left, but it just goes to show how European basketball is.
Yeah, the
so
business.
I had to rehab, and I wound up rehabbing and going back to England. I played there for a few more years, and was fortunate to play under Chris Finch, who formerly was the assistant coach of the New Orleans Pelicans.
Okay.
So he's good friends with Nick Nurse. I know Nick Nurse, played against them. So I was fortunate to play for him. We had great success, won some regular season championships, but could never win the final championship, the last game of the season. Every player wants to win that last game of the season.
Right, definitely.
And he leaves to advance his coaching career. We get a new coach, and for me, I had already experienced it.
That's right. You know about that. Right.
So this new coach came in, and I felt like I had to do my part as a leader to now be an extension of that coach, to help him along. We wound up winning a cup that year and a championship.
Man!
Right? So for me, it was awesome. You know, I finally got to win the last game of the season.
Right.
And from that, now I got an opportunity to play in Germany.
Man.
So now you go to Germany, and now you're starting all over. It's a new team, upstart team. You know, you're here to bring in, you know, all your know-how, and it works. You wind up making the playoffs, and unfortunately, I got hurt. That knee that I got hurt in college, it got hurt again.
That came back.
So now this is, I want to say, year 9.
Wow.
Season 9, I get hurt again.
Uh-huh.
And we make it to the semifinal, and I learned from my mistake in college by playing not 100%. I didn't play.
Right.
I sat and watched, and unfortunately, we lost in the semifinal. And I knew if I would have played, if I was healthy, we would have won that championship.
Definitely. You're right.
So, learning from your mistakes, transitioning from, you know, not playing at all to having meaningful minutes to now understanding the game, it took a toll, you know, because now you realize, man, the career could be ending.
Yeah.
You know, you made it 8 years. You played in England, Korea. You know, you played in Germany.
Right.
You're now trying to find a way to latch on for, as Coach Childs used to say, you know, ride till the wheels fall off and then run on the rim.
Right. Uh-huh.
So now I'm running on the rim. I mean, it's sparking everywhere I go. It's electric. Sparks are flying. I go to Italy. I play in Italy, team in Rosetto. Lo and behold, Luis Flores is my teammate.
Get out of here!
Everybody, and Jason Capel, they are my teammates.
Wow.
Everybody knows Luis. Jason Capel played at UNC. You know, his brothers were coaches in college basketball. And I'm just trying to survive.
Right.
And, you know, we win some, you know, you lose some. You know, you're playing against Berniani, and you're seeing all these European players that wind up playing in the NBA play. And I'm just holding on. You know, I'm doing everything I can to stay on them rims.
Right. Yep.
And you're doing all these treatments. You're doing all these extra workouts and practices just to practice. And thankfully, you know, God had a bigger plan, and the team went bankrupt. So little by little, players started leaving. And they started letting players go. And start of the new year, 2006, I got let go. So now it's like, all right, you put 10 seasons in. Is this it? Or you got one more? You know, you're gonna ride on the brakes now. You know, you got one more in. So I go back to the England League, and I play in Scotland because now I have a passport. So I'm technically European.
Right. I know, man. All those mileage up, all those cities, countries, I should say.
Right. So I have a European passport, an American passport. I go, instead of going home right away, I go to play in Scotland and in Glasgow. And we make it all the way to the finals.
Damn.
So in the semifinal, I play against my old team that Chris Finch used to coach for, and I have great game. You know, 25 points, you know, handful of rebounds, made an impact.
Man.
We're playing in the finals the next day, and I think my body was like, yep, you've had enough.
That's it. The body will let you know.
Time to let it go. I went out there, and, you know, as an athlete, you eat right, you drink, you know, you hydrate yourself. Pre-game meal, I'm eating stuff I'd never eat before, you know. I'm drinking soda before a game. I'm doing everything you're not supposed to do because I think in my body and my mind I do. This is it. You know, so if you're going to go out and be happy.
That's right.
I go out and play. I'm playing well the first half, you know, scoring. But the second half, it was just like the electric bill, the lights went off. And Charles Smith, a good friend of mine, Fab Flournoy, you know, he's a member of the Toronto Raptors under Nick Nurse. He's assistant coach. They are wearing me out. And these guys, you know, prior to seasons before, you know, it was a whole different story. But right now, this story was ending for JP. They're wearing me out.
Right.
I couldn't stop anything. And when I knew it was over, I had a teammate tap me on the shoulder during a free throw. And he leans over to me and said, hey, JP, you want me to guard him? And that's when I knew, like, Coach.
You knew.
It's this time.
This is time,
and
yep.
We wound up losing in the finals. That was my last game. You know, you get your second place medal, and you walk off the court, and everybody else is celebrating. And I knew then.
You knew.
I still had basketball in me, but it's time to step away from lacing up the shoes.
Man, yep. You know when you know your body will tell you, but a 10-year stretch, man, that's phenomenal. Overseas in other countries. I mean, that's well beyond the call of duty, man. Man. Hey, let's see what Matt was talking about the Knicks stuff. So Matthew says, Knicks need prayer and therapy. While our good friend Jen says, Knicks need a lot more than that. She says, who even knows on the team now? So we get our Knick digs in. I'm a born and bred Knick fan, so I'm a diehard Knick fan. So, but I agree with both. I agree with both sentiments on the Knicks. Maybe Mr. Rose can help us out, man. But we need some help. We need some divine intervention, I guess. We need something. Man, oh man. Hey, so JP, man. Okay, so now we finished playing ball. What got you into coaching women's basketball, just being a coach in general, but just women's basketball? We're gonna transition to that, and then we're gonna transition to what you do. And again, I got a plan for you, what you do, and I want to talk about that. But I want to talk about the transition from you from playing to now coaching.
Okay, so I get back from playing overseas, and the first thing to do, what are you going to do now?
Yes, right.
I know I didn't want to go back to school yet to pursue a master's, but I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna just take this time off and enjoy myself.
Right.
So the bank account, it looks nice. You're home back in America. So I took a year off. And I took a year off and realized how quickly money goes when you don't have money coming in.
That's right. Yep. That's a big time lesson. Yes.
And it got to a point where I wasn't happy anymore, and I said, you know what? I think I still have the itch to give back, so let me try to coach. So I did like anybody did. I got online, and I tried to find a job. And you do like you're supposed to do. You call people that you played against, played for, and I didn't realize when you're 10 years out of the game, 10 years as a player is not a long time.
Right.
But when you're away for 10 years, you become not existent.
Yes, correct.
People forget you.
Right.
And, they remember, oh, yeah, that great Manhattan team, but they couldn't tell you anybody who was on it.
Right.
So I now had to start over. And you're now begging people to give you an interview. You're begging people to take your call. You're sending letters. You're sending emails.
Yep.
You're trying to reach out to every person that you remember, but they don't really remember you.
Right.
And I got hold of a coach that knew Jay Wright. Now, I remember I came home, you play on tour teams that, that play against colleges. It's like the last hurrah.
Yep.
And we played Hofstra. And at the time, the coach at Hofstra was Jay Wright.
Jay Wright, yes.
So Coach Wright, I reached out to him, and he had a basketball clinic going on. So I said, let me go to the clinic. You basically watch their practice. You take notes. They go through some drills. You have a little meet and greet. And after the meet and greet, I went to Coach Wright, and I said, hey, Coach, I just came back from Europe. I remember you from the Hofstra days. I mentioned Coach Fran, and he was like, oh, well, look, if this is something you want to do, I have a camp in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you work my camp?
Mm.
And then you'll get a feel of if this is something you really want to do.
Right.
But he said, but in the meantime, you need to get on somebody's staff.
Mm-hmm.
So in my head, I'm like, okay, this is great. I'm going to just get on the staff, learn, and then I'll be able to now connect with Coach Wright.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I reached out to a bunch of schools, and I got involved in a community college, a junior college in South Jersey, Burlington Community College,
Mm-hmm.
and got on the staff.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand what junior college ball was like until I got there.
So you get there, right? Right.
It is not Division I basketball.
This is true. Yes. Uh-huh.
We started off with 20 players on the team. In preseason,
Mm-hmm.
by that first report card, we had 9.
He couldn't even practice. Couldn't play 5-on-5.
By the first game, we had 6.
Oh boy.
And we played with 6 scholarship players and then 3 just who could we grab off the street.
Right.
So needless to say, that first year wasn't a great year, but I learned a lot because, as they say, you learn more from losing than you do winning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So
No doubt.
everything, we could experiment with a bunch of different things because, we were trying to find an answer.
Mm-hmm.
That helped me have that competitive nature again. Like, I got it,
Right.
that itch came back.
Right.
And now I wanted to be a better coach.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to prove that I knew from all the years of playing, for Coach Crawford, for Coach Fran, for
Mm-hmm.
Coach Finch, and all the coaches in Europe, that now I'm going to be a product of what I've learned from them.
That's right. Right. Uh-huh.
So after that season, I called Coach Wright, and I locked myself into his camp.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to his camp, and you see how professional and why Villanova is successful.
Right.
Under Coach Wright.
Why they are.
They have tradition like no other.
Mm.
And everything that he's a part of, his style, his dress, the way he approaches kids, the way he teaches, the way he coaches, you see it there.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt it. I felt like literally, as we go back, I should have been here.
Mm.
Because remember, Coach Lapis,
Yep.
he went to Nova.
Right.
I thought I was going to be at Nova.
Right.
But
Uh-huh.
now, I am now at Nova, but I'm just Nova, in a different aspect.
Right.
So I felt that competitiveness to want to be the best coach and want to learn from Coach Wright.
Mm.
And I met Coach Larry Brown through there,
Mm.
a bunch of Doug West.
Doug
A
West, yeah.
lot of the Villanova influence helped me become a coach.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Man, that is cool, man.
So after that experience, I really grasped and really, honed in on what I wanted to do,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got an opportunity to coach Division III women's basketball at
Mm.
Kane University.
Mm.
And my biggest thing when I went into there was learn, but make a professional player out of one of these players here.
Mm.
Like Coach Fran made a pro out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Now I need to make a pro out of somebody else.
Wow, played forward. Right. Yep. Uh-huh.
So I get there my first year, and like any new coach, you have to earn the trust of the players.
Mm-hmm.
And it was tough because now you're coaching women.
Mm-hmm.
So now you can't be as physical. You can't do all the things you learned at Manhattan and overseas. You now got to teach it rather than show it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And there's one. Now I've coached plenty of girls on that team, but there was one. Her name is Angelica Bermudez.
Mm-hmm.
She was like how Coach Fran was to me.
Mm-hmm.
I was now going to be to her.
Mm.
Like the coaches there had got to the limit, and now it was Coach Justin. She is yours.
Mm.
So now I had to make her better than I was.
Right. Right.
And I learned from how I was with Coach Fran and how Coach Fran was with me over the 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
I saw how they were with her. I now needed to coach her at a different way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Needless to say, after winning championships and trophies, she was my first professional player that I got to coach.
Wow, where did she wind up playing?
She wound up playing for the national team in Puerto Rico.
Nice.
And unfortunately, due to some health reasons, she had to retire. But she played numerous seasons overseas, and now she's a coach.
Oh, man. So she's playing it forward now. That's great.
Right. And I'm not just mentioning her because there were, a bunch of other players. Danielle Brown, she's now coaching at Illinois Chicago. She was a great inside player. And Simone, she's now coaching at Kane. So, all these people that you were able to touch have now paid it back in their own way.
Man.
And for me, that was my reasoning for wanting to be a coach.
Right, that was the reward. Back. Right, that was the reward, to give back. Yeah, that is great, man.
So through Kane, I was able to become a head coach the following, after 3 years there at Centenary College. And the biggest thing that I learned was when you're in the second seat, it's a lot different than being in that first.
That's right. When you move over, right, JP? When you move over to that next, it's a totally different view.
Everything is fine and good until you move over to that first seat.
Yep.
When you got to make the call, and you have to call the timeouts and draw up the play. But it helped me, having a career that I had to be able to now teach it. It was awesome. It's an awesome feeling. And from a successful year, making the postseason as a head coach your first year, Division I came calling.
Wow.
And, a lot of people say, I'm happy here, but, Division I doesn't call for everybody.
That's right.
And
absolutely.
When it called, it made me go to Georgia.
You got to answer.
And you got to answer.
Yep.
I packed up not even 8 months into the job. I made a lot of great friends and did all I could there at the time, but unfortunately I had to leave. And I went to Georgia for 2 years. Division I, you're playing at a big time school. That football pays for everything.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of pressure, and unfortunately we didn't have the success that I had previous years, but we did well. And God knocked on the door and said, "Hey, JP, it's time."
Yep.
And then I go to work that day, and the administrator said it's time. And unfortunately, my contract was up.
Man, oh man. So let's talk about. Okay, so now you got that. I could call you the transition man. I tell you, JP, man, because a lot of stuff going on, which is great. Talk to us about what you do now with the NBA.
Okay, so the way that this goes, so you leave Georgia, you pack up your apartment in the moving van, and being 6'8" in the moving van, trust me, driving that is not comfortable for 13 plus hours.
Oh, yes.
I tell you, if I never have to do that again, we're good for that. Drove back from Georgia to New Jersey, and like you said, now it's like, all right, so what are you going to do now?
Yep.
I remember I called 100 schools.
Wow, you remember the number, huh? You remember the number.
I remember the number. I reached out to 100 schools, and I got one phone interview.
Out of that 100, one phone interview.
Out of that one phone interview. And they told me they were going to call me back to let me know what they were going to do. That was in 2014. It is 2020, and I'm still waiting for that phone call.
You're still waiting for that phone call.
Still waiting for it. It never came.
Oh, man.
So I did like anything. I reached out again. You go through that process. And I went on the NBA website, NBA.com employment. Careers, I think it is.
Yes, I
saw a job in referee operations. It was the brand new replay center needed, pay per day people to work it. They said the requirements were to have refed or coached or played sports professionally, to have coached or have been an observer for a referee, and to have a basketball history.
That's right up your alley there, JP.
I said, I played, I've coached, and I have a history.
Right.
A winning history. So I applied, and I didn't hear anything for about a month. And I got the phone call. I didn't recognize the number.
Mm-hmm.
Answered it, and it was the lady saying, "Hey, we just came across your resume, and we would like to bring you in for an interview." Mm. So I was ecstatic, you know. Mm-hmm. I had tickets to the Yankee game to see Derek Jeter's last game.
Wow.
So I was already going to be, in North Jersey.
Right.
Because the NBA entertainment is in Secaucus. So I said, okay, I could do this interview, and then, either way, I'm going to win, so I'm going to Yankee game.
That's right. Yep. How's a win-win situation?
Win-win. I go to the interview, and I meet Joe Borgia, who has retired now, and he was the head running the replay center. Mm-hmm. And we talked, and he wanted me to be a ref. He wanted to stop me and make me become a ref. Mm-hmm. And I knew my body couldn't handle that. You're older now. You're in your 40s.
Right.
And I just said, no, I appreciate the gesture, but I want to see what this replay center is about because it's brand new. It's never been before. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. He said, you know what? You're the type of guy we need. Can you work Monday? Now, this is Friday. Mm-hmm. I said, yeah. Right there, yes. Mm-hmm. Didn't need a hesitation, not like, sitting with Coach Lapis in the office to I already knew I was coming to Manhattan, but I couldn't tell him right away.
Right.
I just said, you know what? Yes. I stepped out and said yes. Mm-hmm. So he said, I'll see you Monday. So I leave there. I'm already on a high. I go to the Yankee game, and I watch Jeter strike out. He laughed at that. So, you can't win them all, but unfortunately, I'd rather be the recipient of the good news rather than a part of the bad news.
That's right.
And I have been in the replay center this is coming up on 7 years now. So
wow.
7th season this next season.
Man, that is phenomenal. Man, oh man. Hey, JP, I got to ask you a couple questions. So I know you're with the replay center. Did you get a chance to be a part of the bubble life there in Orlando at all when the play resumed?
I wasn't directly in Orlando because of all the COVID protocols and the way that the bubble was, but there was a bubble in Secaucus. So we're based out of Secaucus, and it was like getting in and out of Alcatraz. You got tested 3 times a week.
Wow.
Or up to 3 times a week. If you weren't on a list, you weren't getting in the building. If you weren't on a list to work, but on a list of tests, you weren't getting past the security. It was sealed tight.
Yeah.
Because they realized how important we were because in the replay center, you are actually sending the video to Florida. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my job was if there was a replayable event, I'm sending it to Florida where the referees were in a different bubble from the players where they would confirm or overturn a call. Uh-huh. I would then send that same footage that I sent to that referee, I would now send it to the on-court official that would be watching it at the scores table.
Man. Wow, that sounds like a stressful event there, man. I mean, you cool and all though, JP, so I know you can able to handle that, but for the average Joe, that sounds like a stressful event there.
Hey, thank God for Degree and Right Guard and all kinds of deodorant because I tell you, to be under the gun, to make that decision to where you have to either confirm or overturn something or to show a play where it's going to drastically impact the game. Mm-hmm. It's fun. And if you're a basketball junkie, it's heaven. There's over 100 TVs in that room with multiple angles of every play. Right. On a big game night, you can have up to 13 games in one night. Wow. There's 13 games going on in that room. And it is organized chaos.
Man, oh man.
Like I said, for a basketball junkie, it is heaven.
Mm-hmm. Man. Hey, so JP, speaking of basketball, and we talked about earlier about the voting process. So I know LeBron James, he's come up with this initiative more than the vote, in which they're having all the, they're going to have the polling places in all NBA arenas. I think the majority of the NBA arenas, right? So
Yeah.
here's the question I have for you, JP, okay? Now, with that being said, people are going to be voting across this country in NBA arenas, okay? Now, did you ever give this a thought? Or I should ask you, will you be working on November 3rd? And the reason why I'm asking you this, JP, is, again, you're in the replay booth. You can see all the shenanigans that's going on. I mean, you got people cutting, cords for these voting processes. But again, they're going to be in these arenas, the NBA arenas. But could it be a situation in which our good friend here, JP, Justin Phoenix, might hold the democracy of voting in his hand in the booth? So will you be there working on the 3rd just to make sure there's no shenanigans going on?
No.
You won't be there? All right.
No. The way replay works is based off the television trucks that work the game. So
okay.
If ESPN is there, if ABC is there, we get their cameras from their cameramen positioned in the arenas to actually make our decision.
Okay.
The arenas, now NBA security, because it's in an NBA arena, may possibly, and I'm not 100% sure, but they may possibly be watching for all that stuff because the teams are basically putting their name to it.
Right.
So their cameras, they have thousands of cameras.
Okay.
Whereas we may have 12 cameras for a game, they probably have hundreds of cameras.
Right.
So they can monitor everything that goes on because it's not an NBA event, but it's in an NBA facility.
Okay.
So no, I will not be working the poll, and I think each state is different as well. I think let's say Brooklyn, in order for me to work Brooklyn, I would have to live in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Right? So I think it's based on where you live. Now, I know Jersey, a lot of Jersey places where I'm registered to vote, it's mail-in.
Okay.
It's not, there's no in-person voting. So, plus there's no team in Jersey technically, but I know Brooklyn, I know Atlanta, I know they're using their NBA arenas as polling sites.
Yeah. Wow, man. It's okay. So that's good news because I don't want the weight of the democracy of the free world to be on my man JP. So that's a good thing. Okay, I'm glad you're not working that day because that's a big bad. That's a tough one to maneuver. I mean, I know you tough. I know you cool in that process, but I wouldn't want to put that weight on you there, JP.
Nah, thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. No problem. Hey, JP, man, I appreciate having you on, man. I got one more question for you, man, and I'm glad I had you. This was definitely worth the wait, man, because, again, ladies and gentlemen out there, I've been trying to get JP on this show, but, again, due to his schedule with the NBA and, these teams winning and they playing on Tuesdays, it was tough to get my man JP, but I'm so glad to have you on today, man. But, JP, my last question for you is, do you have any regrets from high school? It could be college, it could be a professional career, it could be, what about now? Do you have any regrets? Like if you had to look back and see, could have done things a little differently. Any regrets on that?
It's always easy to say, when you look back on things, hindsight is always 20/20. But the way this year 2020 is, I don't even know. But
I know, right? We can't even say that anymore, right? 2020.
Yeah, you can't. We have to leave that alone. Now.
Yes.
I will say this: in anything, you learn from the mistakes and you learn from the losses more than you do the wins.
Right.
So it's easy for me to say, yeah, I wish I would have lifted weights and I wish I would have paid more attention freshman year in high school and did more studies. And I wish I would have, instead of cutting left, I wish I would have cut it right.
Right.
But I think the way things are, the future, no matter how long you have to live in this crazy world, you've already learned from your mistakes.
Yeah.
the thing is to not make another mistake or the next mistake.
Correct. Right.
So if I can avoid doing one thing to help someone else, I'm going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I have a little niece and she's about to go down a different path, I'm going to help her do everything she can to not take that path.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if there's any, you know, with Coach Mavs and his team, if there's any player or any former player that I could help so they don't make a mistake that I did,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I can give that advice because I already made the mistake.
Yeah.
Because I've already, you know, had to deal with that. And if I can help them not deal with it, that means more to me than having a regret,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
Making mistakes, no one's perfect, you know.
Right.
A good man told me when you chase 100% and you get 96 and you try to get 97, well, you're leaving behind the 96 you already have.
Mm.
You know, nothing's perfect. So you're always going to have, you know, some issues. You're always going to have some things that you need to work with. It's now just trying to make it better for
Mm-hmm.
where you are.
Mm-hmm.
So for all those people listening, you know, to vote, you know, whether you vote for a Republican, a Democrat, yourself, whoever, just use that opportunity because a lot of people didn't have those opportunities.
Absolutely. And a lot of people died for the right to vote. We got to remember that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not a real political person.
Right.
You know, you just want things to be fair.
Right.
And you understand things sometimes aren't fair, but you want things to just be just.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if I could turn back one thing,
Uh-huh.
man, I probably wish I would have dunked the ball versus Arizona State instead of laying it up. Because if I would have dunked it, there's no way he could have called an offensive foul.
Right.
So if I could turn back the hands of time, I would have taken off and did everything the same way, but I would have tried to break the backboard.
Yep.
Rather than.
And you had that ability. You had that ability to do that, man. But again, you know, you hit it right on the nose, you know, tonight. And it's all about sacrifice. It's all about, you know, getting to that point. It's all about learning, you know, learning from the experiences in which you've had, you know what I mean? And that goes a long way for one of the all-time winningest players in the you know, Manhattan College program, man. So no, man, Justin, man, I just want to thank you, man, for coming on, man. I finally get my man JP on here, man. It was worth it. But Katie says, thank you for getting him on, Russ, eventually. The Phoenix is an absolute star, and I love our writer, says Ryder/Rosie's moments, and would not change them for the world.
That's awesome. That is awesome. You leave a mark everywhere you go. You have friends.
Yep.
You make friends. You appreciate everybody that's touched you,
mm-hmm.
and you just try to pay it forward. So,
Absolutely.
Russ, I appreciate you. I thank you for having me on.
No problem.
I know it was a bit of a struggle, but we made it, you know.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. No, I appreciate it, man. No, and again, this is a goodbye. We're going to have you on again, JP. You know what I mean? So, and my man Bill says, tell JP we have to hit the links. Okay. We got to get a foursome. So me, Bill, JP, we got to throw somebody else in there. We'll get probably Lapis in there or what have you. We'll definitely get a foursome.
I'll bring Greg Shaw. We'll all wear our Jordan golf shoes and we'll be rolling.
There you go. Oh, I don't have Jordan golf shoes, so you got to take care of that on that for me. Nah, no problem.
Bill to see if he's listening. My first roommate on freshman orientation, he's a golfer too. So we got to figure out something. We got to get Tariq and Brendan and
yes,
and Hoover and Marshall and all these guys. We got to get them golf.
Yes, we got to do that. We definitely got to do that. And lastly, Maria says it was nice hearing from you, Justin. Hope to bump into you in South Jersey. So yeah, Maria's out in South Jersey. So yeah, you're gonna bump into Maria. You'll see Maria again.
God bless Maria.
Absolutely, man. Perfect. And Jen says, oh, love this so much. And Bill says, big JP. So yeah, we're going to end it off on that. JP, my man, you always welcome me on Transition Tuesdays. It was a thrill having you, my man. And we'll be in contact. And like you said, man, the main thing is vote. That's important. That's what we can do.
All right, bro.
All right. Take care, JP. Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Later, man.
Bye.
All right. my man Justin Phoenix, one of the all-time greatest winners in the history of the Manhattan College program. And class act, personified, like Chris talked about early on. Man, it's a pleasure having Justin Phoenix on. Man, oh man. So before we take off here today, I just want to talk about, me. I always, you always hear about me talking about I'm proud of being a Jasper of Manhattan College, the program. I'm really proud of it. And what really made me the proudest, being a Manhattan College Jasper, again, I was proud when I was one of the all-time leading scorers in the school's history. I was a proud moment for me. Another proud moment for me was when I was voted one of the top 50 greatest players in the school's history. That was a great proud moment for me. Another time for me when I graduated with a degree in business management from Manhattan College. Having one of the best, the all-time winningest records in the 1 year, 25 wins, being the co-captain. That was a proud moment. But what really made me proud of being a Jasper was what took place yesterday with the women's team. They had a Black Lives Matter visual on the campus, and that really made me proud. And I shared the video of that event with the masses. But again, that what really made me proud to be a Jasper. And I'm really loving what Coach Voolin did. We had her on the show a couple of weeks ago about the Black Lives Matter, and her players, talking about it, said their names. And, I was looked at that yesterday. And again, all the accomplishments I had that made me proud, what I witnessed yesterday with when I had Manhattan College, the women's team, and organizing that event and being a part of that with the Black Lives Matter, that made me proud to be a Jasper today. So I just wanted to shout out Coach Voolin, the women's staff, and the players for making that visual a great event yesterday there at Manhattan College. That was super, absolutely super. So that, man, I'm proud to be a Jasper. As you can see, I got my Jasper shirt on. Just interviewed Justin Phoenix. I was proud, and I'm proud to be a Jasper because of that. So, ladies and gentlemen, if we were able to make you laugh, smile, or think during this broadcast, my good friends, you have accomplished something major today. So celebrate your victory. Celebrate your victory. As I go into my bag of tricks to put on my theme music, as we're taking off here. And again, guys, I want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for you watching Transition Tuesdays. Oh, boy. Again, shout out to my man Justin Phoenix for coming on, man. Great insight, great conversation. One of the all-time winningest players, history of Manhattan College, doing great things with the NBA, with the referees, the instant replay department, doing a great job. We'll be hearing a lot more from my man Justin Phoenix, JP. Appreciate him coming on. Again, ladies and gentlemen, you can always find me, if you haven't done so already, you can always find me on Instagram at rworldtransition. So, you can follow me there. If you missed this show and the other shows, we have a YouTube channel, Transition Tuesdays. You can check that out, and I'll post this one as well on there. So, oh boy, great times, man. Great time today. I know we went long. But again, when you get a guy like Justin Phoenix, you got to keep him. I got to keep this guy, man. We got to keep that conversation going. So my apologies if we went a little bit longer. But hey, look, great times with great people, great stuff. And again, shout out to the women's team, man. I really salute you guys in that initiative that you have with Black Lives Matter. I am proud to call myself a Jasper because of that event. So again, ladies and gentlemen, as we say in parting, happy transitioning, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody. God bless.